Maybe that road could have carried me to streets of gold. Things aren't always as they seem. Looking back on all the chances that I missed, some I held, some slipped away. One street over where my memories exist, I wondered what would change, I really couldn't say. In this life there's nothing certain, except the curtain that rises to the stage. Silly games of second guessing, I just forget the lessons that I couldn't learn. Because one street over there's a life I could have known that would have kept me from the one I had today. Times gone by, I've traded black dirt into clay. I thought my memories would end. One street over's now 1,000 miles away. When I close my eyes, I'm back to where I've been. In this life there's nothing certain, except the curtain that rises to the stage. Silly games of second guessing, I just forget the lessons that I couldn't learn. Because one street over there's a life I could have known that would have kept me from the one I had today.
Good morning, Robertson County. How you doing? This is 1100 WSG. I'm Utah Laverne. This is One Street Over. That's the Ridgetop Ramblers singing us in, as they always do, with our theme song that is extremely, it's extremely appropriate. I couldn't get the words out. What's going on? What's happening up the street from you? We're going to talk about, of course, the Faith Friday issues today. Gwen Harder is on her way in. She's coming in a little bit early today. Haven't had a good opportunity to really give her a chance to talk about their Israel trip. She went with some of the folks from Ebenezer Church to Israel, and they were gone for 2 weeks. Ilyu Maldonado and several from the church were involved in that trip. I've heard bits and pieces of it. It was absolutely phenomenal. Living vicariously through them for sure. That's a trip that if God ever makes a way, I will certainly take. But I love the fact that we can hear about details in such a wonderful way through our friends, and it's so easy to digitally bring that to you. And so with that said, I thought I had a couple of people, and I told Gwen, I said, I've kind of had on the shelf coming in and letting you come in and talk and just talk about the trip, and we haven't done that yet. Still trying to get David Evans in here. I've had several people go, when are you going to get David back in? I've invited him several times. He's not been available. So that was one thing I was working on, and finally heard back from him, and he was not available for this Friday. And I thought, well, this is an appropriate day for us to jump into the stuff from Israel. And it's also, we're in Advent, right? When does Advent run?
Advent starts.
I thought it already
Sunday.
started. I thought it already started.
Well, it's basically 4 Sundays before Christmas.
Oh, okay. I don't know. I thought for some reason we were already in it.
Well, you can start at the 1st of December and do every night.
Right.
But basically it's 4 Sundays before Christmas.
Okay. See, and that's something I've never studied, and you're up to date on all that kind of stuff. And one thing that something that I've seen pop up a couple of times is to start a Christmas tradition and read the book of Luke.
Yes.
And start it yesterday. If you're already a day behind, if you did not get that started, which I did not. Are you surprised?
It's Friday night. Catch up.
I'm going to do that. And I'm in the middle of. I've been doing Christmas mini sessions, and so I'm doing a lot of photo editing right now. And on my Christmas mini clients, I don't have your pictures. I had told a few that maybe I could get them some drop boxes uploaded this morning, but I just did not finish up last night. I actually finished some of them, and I went back and I'm like, no, I don't like that.
So you finished them and then you didn't finish them.
Yeah, I finished them and I was like, oh, I don't quite like the color correction on that. So I'm going to go back in and I have Lightroom, and it's just so fabulous. If you've never played around in Lightroom, it's so fun. And I have a photo that I did. One of the first ones I did is my friend Laura that I put up on the creek. She was in a swing over my creek, and I take that picture. I had one of my sweet girls, little Grace. She was wanting that picture. She goes, "How do you get people out there?" I'm like, "You have to wade." And her pictures, we did hers in the fall, so it was a little chilly. It was a little chilly, but we got the fall colors, and hers were beautiful. But then Laura Moore's were in spring, and so that's just breathtaking on the creek.
All the green.
Well, I found a picture last night that as I was going through stuff that I had not done much with, and it's her swinging and the perfect reflection of her to the side.
Oh, wow.
And I set it aside because the colorization on it was just a little flat. And as I'm learning more about Lightroom, I'm gonna have some fun. I gotta get
pictures.
I'm gonna surprise her mama with that, maybe for Christmas, because I'm like I'm gonna fix that. But I've got to get my Christmas mini stuff done first. But Gwen Hart is in the house.
Yeah.
Takes me a minute to say hello. And the Rainies came out and I did some Christmas minis with them last night. Yesterday afternoon, and I told him, I said, I might have these for you in the morning. I do not, Paul. Tell Mary I'll have them for her in the morning. I promise. But I do not have them I don't have them this morning. I stayed up too late as it was. But
I know.
Anyway,
There's just so much
I just love playing with the editing,
just
photo
so much
editing.
to
It's
do.
I know. I got so many things.
Yeah.
So many things.
And I know that feeling too. I've got so many things.
Yes. Why don't you tell people what you're doing? I don't think you really unpacked. You have a new gig.
Oh, I'm gonna be here Wednesday to talk about that.
Are you coming in with Terry? Oh, we'll just leave it. Okay, that's a teaser. So we'll just leave that alone. We'll just leave that alone. That is fun. That's fun. So
New girl at the courthouse, at the court, the county building.
Yes, very good. Very good. Well, we'll hear more about that on Wednesday. That's a teaser. So this is Faith Friday. And I just am very excited to hear about what is going on, or what went on with the whole Israel trip, and just the whole idea. We talked a little bit about you going. It was just out of the blue. You said, I'm going with them. And I said, you do know it's going to be in Spanish. Tell me about that. I'm curious.
Well, it was, and then it was like, oh, Gwen, it'll be in English. And I'm thinking, well, the tour guides will be in English. No.
They were in Spanish.
Everything was in Spanish. Yeah, just about everything.
How
was
did
in
you
Spanish.
manage?
Well, first of all, if you know your Bible, you know where you're at.
Yeah.
And you know the significance of each one of the places.
Yeah.
So you can do research for that. But just whether it's in Spanish or Italian or wherever, just being there, to be there was a significant things. So yeah, it was great, but yeah, like I say, it was all in Spanish.
I love that. I think that's fabulous. It's called immersion. There you go.
I know.
I love it. There you go.
We started out in Petra because the last time I was here, we talked about the moon being with me and how just, incredible the whole trip was with the spirit, because Rachel was here and we know the significance of the moon with her. So
crazy story. I can't wait for that book.
It's got to come out. It's just got to come out.
It's incredible.
But yeah, we started out in Petra, which was actually we started out in Amman. We went to the capital of Jordan, Amman, Jordan, and there's a gorgeous Roman theater that they have. Right downtown Amman. It's like nothing compared to the U.S. I don't think there's anything comparable to the U.S. with what's over there. So we saw the theater, and we saw a temple place, and we walked around. We didn't really go into Amman proper. We drove through the old city, and we didn't really see any of the modern type of Amman, but spent the day there. Day 2 was Petra, which is one of the selling points that got me to sign up.
I understand Petra's fascinating, but there's other places I would want to go.
There's a lot of mystery with Petra.
Yeah.
People don't know a lot about what Petra was all about. If you've seen the Indiana Jones movie, the Last Crusade, with Sean Connery. They use the treasury in Petra for one of their locations. It's like the final location in the movie, and that's where they meet Charlemagne. Well, the facade of that is what they shot, and it was interesting because our tour guide was 10 when the movie was filmed, and he remembers, Harrison Ford being there, and they were there for about 2 months, and so he got to see some of the filming, and which was really cool. But it's a city built into caves, and they carved the front of the caves like buildings. So it's just,
it is fascinating.
It's amazing. And from what I've read, in the end times, when the Jews are under attack, supposedly that is where they are to run, to the mountains, and Petra is in the mountains. So
right.
People kind of surmise that that's where.
Was it hidden for a while?
It was hidden for 500 years. Everybody heard about this, but nobody knew about it. And either a Norwegian or a Swedish monk disguised himself as an Arab and went in and got to know the local people and he gained their trust basically, and they showed him where it was. And since then, it's now just a big tourist attraction.
Well, sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
Oh yeah. So, but yeah, it was hidden, and it was like this mythical kind of place that nobody really knew about.
Because of political things, everybody quit going, maybe, because you said for about 500 years. I mean, it's been a couple thousand since Christ was here.
It's not easy to get to.
Right.
We've got slot canyons out in the west where you've got it's water that has just rushed through rock.
Right.
And I mean, these are probably 3 or 4 stories at least, if not taller. And you walk down this great big slot canyon to the treasury, which is in an opened area. But we only saw that. It's a whole city, and it would probably take 2 or 3 days to see the whole thing.
Is it open? Is the entire city open where you can go in?
Oh yeah.
So I could, it was just like I was saying, if I never get to go to Israel, I can do it virtually.
Right.
And so that's something that when you guys kept talking about Petra, and I thought, well, let me take another look at it, and it is fascinating.
It is.
I mean, there's so many places. I really love the drive-through history with David Stott.
Oh, he's
and
incredible.
he is incredible.
Yeah.
And I don't know if he's ever been to Petra. I don't know if he's covered Petra. I don't think so.
No, I don't.
But there's several places that are where they've hewn dwellings into the caves and in a way
this is a whole
this is a whole city.
I mean, it's a whole different thing with like they've got columns, and windows.
I mean, it's incredible.
And I mean, it's like it looks like a building made of stone.
Yeah,
but it's just the facade carved into the rock.
It's amazing.
So
it is beautiful. If you have never looked at Petra, look it up because it is absolutely astounding beauty.
But that's one of those places where, okay, I'd like to go back and do 2 or 3 days there to see the entire thing. So we did Petra, and then we crossed the Jordan into Israel, and went to Bet Shean, which I'd already been to. That is a city on the east side of the Sea of Galilee, where Jesus would have crossed to.
Would this have been part of the Decapolis?
Yeah.
Okay.
So
it's part of the Vegas cities that he that he went to.
That he went to.
Okay. The Vegas type cities is what that's how they're described by Christy McClellan. That's why I'm
right.
Where
anything went. I mean, it was just a free for all.
Yeah.
And then I have to look at my pictures because otherwise I don't know where I'm at. I've been so busy since I got back that I really haven't sat down and processed it. And like Rachel needs to sit down and write down, all the stuff for her. I really need to sit down and just go through it and start writing.
And just make some notes.
Oh yeah, make some huge notes and to remember where I was, and because you move so fast. The first trip we took, I took the itinerary to someone who had been there, and he looked through it and he goes, "This is a great trip. By the 3rd day, you're going to be overwhelmed." And when you say, "Oh, let's go to Israel," the first thing I think of is, "Oh, I could never go to Israel. I'll be a puddle." Well, this is where Jesus did this, and this is where Jesus did that, and it's like you're moving so fast, you really don't have time to comprehend it until you get back.
And then it sinks
And
in.
then you start reading your Bible. We were just doing a study at my church, and they were talking about the caves where
Qumran?
Abraham
Oh.
buried Sarah.
Right.
And I had been there. I had just been there.
Right.
To the Cave of the Patriarchs. That's in Hebron. And it was like, oh my gosh. And there's a picture in my Bible of it. And it's like, I know that building. I've been in that building. So when you get back and you start processing it through studying the Bible, that's when it hits you. It's like, oh my gosh, I've been there. I know what that feels like. I know where that is.
And since you mentioned that, that's one of the lessons that the overview of Scripture that Christy does, she talks about that is the first piece of Canaan that became in possession of Abraham.
Right.
Because if you go in and read the negotiation between them as they're trying to, they're saying, oh, just bury your dead, bury your dead.
Right.
They're wanting to loan it to him. He's
No,
like, no, I want
wanna
to buy it. And then they quote a price, which is astronomical amounts of money, because if you compare that, she compares it to what David paid for the Temple Mount. For the threshing floor. And it's just, you think, wow, that's a lot. And I forget all the numbers off the top of my head. But go and read that, and then read what David paid for the threshing floor, and compare that to the cave in the field that he got in Hebron. Is it Hebron?
The burial is in Hebron.
Yeah,
where Abraham buried Sarah.
Right, and that's that's the first piece of the land of Canaan that became possession.
That's in modern day Israel.
Right.
It's in Hebron, which is a divided city, and that was a whole experience going there. I mean, that was
divided. How?
In that Arabs and Jews live there together.
Right.
Not peacefully.
Okay.
Because there are a lot of Israeli troops there. But I compare it, driving down the highway to that place, I compare it to kind of like Vietnam Veterans Highway, where you've got all the exits. Well, at certain exits to Hebron, there are great big red signs that say, if you're Jewish, you don't belong here.
Wow.
And you run the risk. I mean, think of going home at night and taking the wrong exit. And you get off at the wrong exit, and suddenly you're Jewish in an Arab part of Hebron. You could be killed for taking the wrong exit, because there are warning signs that say, if you're Jewish, don't come in here. You don't belong here. But yeah, that was a trip. And we got there late, so it was the evening. It was light when we went in, but it was dark when we came out. And a lot of Jewish families have left because of the fighting there. And if you ever hear of problems with Jerusalem, that's probably where they've come from, is Hebron, because it's so close to Jerusalem. So
okay,
but yeah, Hebron was a real trip. But then after we crossed over into Israel, went to Bet Shean, and then we went to Magdala, which is my favorite place in the whole world, because I just feel this connection with Mary. And they found the synagogue where they think that Christ may have taught at. They found the fish market where the fishermen would have brought their catches, huge amounts of salt deposits and things, because that's the way they would have preserved it. They would have brought the catches in and then thrown them into salt. They didn't have ice back then, so they would have salted all of their catches down. And that, I mean, I was there 4 years ago. It was just the dig. Now there's a strip mall, and there's a grocery store, and I mean it's changed a lot in 4 years.
So they were just uncovering it when you were there?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And now they've got a hotel that you can stay at right there at the site, and I mean they've built up around it so that it's totally different from when I was
Fascinating.
there. Yeah.
Okay.
Went up to Tabga, which is right outside the where he spoke the Beatitudes on the side of the hill, and that's a little church where
Sermon on the Mount.
Yeah, the Sermon on the Mount.
Is that what you were trying to say?
That's what it's still early for me. So he did
when he preached up on the hill.
Well, the thing is,
that's funny.
When you see that and the way it's set up, he would have been up on the top, and they would have all, and the way he's speaking, he would have been looking at the Sea of Galilee. So his voice would have carried, and everybody goes, well, how could that many people hear him? Well, God provides. He he created all of it, so he's going to put you where you need to be. And so I'd already been to there. We didn't go there, but there's a little church right down the street from it, that they found a mosaic, which had a basket and 2 fish on the floor. So that's how they kind of suspect that that's where this all took place. And so we were able to see the church with that mosaic in it.
Do they have any kind of a dating on when that was built? Did they have a speculation on that?
It's probably a Byzantine church, that,
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
because the Catholic Church went in and just kind of marked all these spots that tradition had.
I'm always fascinated to find the timing on it and how far past the early church that these things came in.
Right.
Because that's where, you know, we talk about the Didache, and if you have, and I was telling somebody about it the other day, and they're like, you're mispronouncing it. I'm like, I'm saying it the way Christy says it, so and she's Mississippi.
It's Didache,
So,
Didache or Didache.
Didache or Didache,
Yeah,
right.
either way.
And so, and if you have never discovered that, study it. It's fascinating, just because I always wonder how in the world we got to. That was
Right,
one of my biggest struggles.
That was a transition, yeah.
That was one of my biggest struggles as a young person, when I really fell away from church for a while, is trying to reconcile what we have now that we call church versus what the early church really was in the beginning.
Right. How did they worship?
And how did we get so off the I mean, how did we get just so? I mean, all these denominations and all these different things, and so it's so fascinating. But anyway, I don't want to go there. Anyway, go.
So after that, where was it? We went to Capernaum.
Okay.
Which is fabulous.
Yeah,
that was we went the first trip, and it's always worth the visit when you go there. And here's a problem with Israel. They have a synagogue that was built later than the first century. But they've dug down into one corner of it and found a synagogue that it was built over. So now the question that Israeli historians have is, do we dig up this whole synagogue to get to the one underneath it, or do we keep the synagogue and leave the one underneath it, knowing it's there? So they think that the synagogue underneath this one is the one that Jesus, where he came out of the synagogue and went over to Peter's house to cure his mother-in-law. This is the place. They've got Peter's house there. They know that because of the way it's built and the way it expanded, because as people came to the faith, they would have had a small house that they met in, and then they would have expanded it, and then it would have expanded it again. And they found Christian carvings in the stones. So that would be dated from the first century. But that's always a great place. I love going to Capernaum. And that was the internet of the day. You know, people say, well, why Capernaum? Because Capernaum was, you had all the travel routes came through
King's
Capernaum.
Highway.
Yep. And you know, word from there would spread. It would go up to Damascus. It would go to Rome. It would go, you know, further on into the Middle East. So Capernaum was the place where you went to get news, and it was a Roman outpost as well. So, yeah, that, you know, it's like, why Capernaum? Why? Well, when you dig into it, you know, you find out.
That's the thing. When you get into the history of all this, it is just fabulous. Let's pause and take a break. Talking with Gwen Harder. Just fascinating time hearing about their trip. She went with Ilyu Maldonado and the Ebenezer Church. They went to Israel, and we just haven't had a chance to really dig into it. So I thought this would be a good opportunity to do that. And we're going to continue to talk to her about all of those things. But we're going to take a break right here and talk about my friends Corbin Creek Greenhouse Gifts and Gardening Center. We'll start right there. I went and visited with Miss Amy the other day, and I cannot say enough about the things that they have going on. And if you're looking for something unique for Christmas, they have. I went into the store. Of course, I have to restock on my CBD products, and because when I run out, and if I start, I was getting really low, and so I was trying to use it a little less so I could stretch it, right, because I knew I was going to have a hard time getting over there because I'm so busy. But I called Amy the other day. I got out of school, and I said I actually went ahead and left just right at the bell because I knew I had to run some errands. I called her and I said, hey, I'm headed your way. And so she waited for me, and I restocked my CBD. And while I was in there, I picked up some pot holders and a little soup cozy. And I got me a a Christmas apron that all Miss Jane made. And if you go to the Facebook page right now, Amy is looking lovely in one of the pink aprons that her mom made. And so if you're wanting to get a special gift, how about getting it from Miss Jane? Miss Jane Corbin. Well, you can go get one of those handmade items from inside the store, and so many of them. Just look around. They've got all kinds of fun stuff, all kinds of fun gifts in there, and it's a good way to introduce somebody in your family to CBD that you think might need it. This is a great opportunity to do that. Get them a gift and say, hey, I think this might help you. I know some people that it has, especially if you have arthritis, any kind of inflammation issue. Their hours at the moment are Monday through Saturday from 10 to 4. They're open Sunday from 1 to 4. Amy always says if you have a hard time, meeting up with her when she's there, just call her, 615-384-3185, 615-384-3185, and they're one of our longtime sponsors. When you get in touch with them, please be sure and let her know that U-Turn sent you. And we are here on One Street Over talking with my friend Gwen Carter about Israel. This is Faith Friday. We are moving into Advent as we got started, and I thought we had already started, but it actually will begin on Sunday. We're also coming up on Hanukkah very quickly. It is not Jewish Christmas. Has nothing to do with Christmas. It's older than Christmas. Let's go to the
went
races.
to
Hanukkah, the Festival of Lights. You can look that up in Scripture. But this is something I talk about Christy all the time. She talks about celebrating Hanukkah, and that's something that I love to do Hanukkah type things, and we'll do some of that as we get on into the December. But right now we're talking Israel.
But Hanukkah interests me more because it's 8 days. Christmas is just one.
I know.
You cram it all into one day.
Well, and the whole point with Hanukkah is you're supposed to come together and tell the story of Hanukkah and the miracle of Hanukkah.
Right, yeah.
And then you tell the miracle of your own story. And just one little caveat, just one little note about Hanukkah. I think some people don't really get the whole story. They talk about, okay, the oil and it stayed lit and then they won. Well, it stayed lit for 8 days because when they got in after the temple had been desecrated and they were going to go in and they were going to rededicate it. Well, there was only enough oil for one night.
Right.
And so they went ahead and lit the lamp of the Lord, and it stayed lit for 8 days. And why that's significant is it's like, well, that was while the battle was ensuing. I'm not sure about all those details, but the one thing Christy pointed out was that it took 8 days to purify oil. For that, you couldn't just go buy more oil. You had to go through a purification process, and it took 8 days to do that. And that's more the significance of the fact that the oil lasted for 8 days.
It's like the water into wine kind of thing. It's the time element.
Yeah,
we live in a time construction, and God does not. So.
Yeah, and I find that just fascinating. And so there's so much about Hanukkah that we don't know because it's not something traditionally we studied. It's in the Catholic Bible, the story of all the things that happened and the Maccabees and all of that. But fascinating stuff. So we'll talk more about that as we get on into the season.
Yes.
So
as it gets closer,
and
but then
we're talking Israel.
We ended our first day in Israel on the Sea of Galilee, which was Veterans Day, and so that was kind of significant because we talked about that when I was here before. That my father passing in 3/16, and now my second trip was Veterans Day, and I'm singing the Star Spangled Banner on the Sea of Galilee on Veterans Day,
and the flag's flying.
Yes, and our flag's flying. So it's like. That was just really, really, really cool. Spent the night in Tiberias, which is on the opposite side of the Sea of Galilee, and it's a cool little. It's kind of like a Goodlettsville, Hendersonville kind of thing. It's just got a younger population, and it's just kind of a really cool little place to kind of, it was kind of a rest up period. So we stayed there. I was familiar with it, so I got to check out some places that we had been before. And then the next day was Shabbat, which is really incredible. If you're old enough to remember Sundays in the U.S. when things were closed, that's what Saturday is in Israel, in the Jewish parts of Israel. 8:30 in the morning, we were headed out to Caesarea Philippi. Nobody's on the streets. The streets are empty. The shops are closed. Everybody's at home, or they're out doing stuff. Because as we were driving into Tiberias, along the lake, you see all of these campsites. So people have taken their tents and all of their camping gear, and Friday night they set up, and that's how they celebrate. They go out and celebrate the Sabbath in God's creation. Or they're out on a boat, till the wee hours of the morning, celebrating. So I mean, Sabbath is a really, really big deal.
I wonder what it's like in Israel during Tabernacles. I bet that would be cool to be there for the Feast of Tabernacles.
Yeah.
I think that'd be interesting. And Pastor Charlene Sullivan is saying last Sunday was actually the first day of Advent.
Yeah, but it's usually four Sundays before Christmas.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So that was
4
the fourth one
Sundays.
before. Okay.
Yeah.
I thought you were saying this coming Sunday was the first one.
I usually celebrate it in December.
Only in December?
Yeah.
But it's 4 Sundays. Okay,
But
so it actually did.
It's 4 Sundays.
So the
because you have 4 candles on the wreath.
Okay, so it's only the Sunday before that you celebrate Advent?
I do each Sunday.
Okay.
Advent is
This is a Catholic thing, right?
Yes.
Okay, so I don't understand it. Okay.
My understanding is it was kind of commandeered from the Didache for baptism.
Oh.
Kind of like a 40-day kind of, contemplation of what you're about to do and what you're about to, the type of life that, and
Yeah, because if you read the Didache, or the Didache, as Christy McClellan says, the Didache, if you read it, it talks about before you go into the waters of baptism that you should spend some time fasting and praying, including the person that has mentored you into the way and that is going to do the baptism. It's not about it's whoever mentored you, that they should fast and pray for at least a day or two.
Right.
And it's fascinating. Fascinating. You need to read that. Go ahead. Let's
so
not.
it's not something that you just decide to do. It's something you really need to think about.
Yeah.
So got up that morning, Sabbath for the Jews. Shabbat for the Jews. Yeah, we drove to Caesarea Philippi. If you don't know where Caesarea or what the big deal is about Caesarea Philippi,
another city in the Decapolis.
Well, this was where Jesus said to his apostles, "Who do you say that I am?" Mm-hmm. And this is where Peter claimed that he was the Messiah.
The gates of hell.
Yes.
There's actually a cave.
Yes.
Did you go see the cave?
I have, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
I'm getting ahead of you. I'm sorry. Go. I'm sorry.
Got the cave. You walk up. There's this beautiful stream, running down, supposedly from the. I'm thinking I didn't see where the stream came out, but it looked like it came down from the cave. Mm-hmm. And in the wall, you've got all these little niches where the gods, all of the little idols of the gods would have been set in, and it was really strange because everybody was like, "Oh, we need to get our picture taken here. We need it," and it's like,
no, I don't think so.
I don't think I want to step inside that because of what that represented.
Mm-hmm.
And some of the people in our group didn't know what happened there. But the cave is where the pagans would throw children to appease their gods. And they would throw the babies into the cave until the stream running out of it ran red. Mm-hmm. So I've got pictures of the stream, this beautiful crystal clear water. And you try and imagine, the history of the place.
The horror.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing.
It was believed to be the gates of hell.
Yeah.
And when Christ is talking about, and the gates of hell will not prevail against you, in other words, he was calling believers to storm the gates of hell. Gates are put up to keep people out.
Right.
So if he's saying the gates of hell will not prevail against it, we're supposed to storm the gates of hell. And not say, oh, don't hurt me.
Yeah.
We're supposed to.
And the other significance is that is where all of the gods were worshipped. Mm-hmm. In this wall, you have niche after niche after niche where an idol would have been, and that's where people came to worship other gods. And that's why it was so significant when Christ said, "Who do you say that I am?" with all of these other gods around, that Peter spoke up and said, "You're the Messiah."
And it was on this rock I'll build my church. He was talking about there was a rock that was, and I forget all the specifics of it, but there was a rock there that a temple was on.
Right.
And he was saying, no, on that rock. In other words, I'm going to overturn that, and I'm going to build on that, not on the rock of Peter. It's been misinterpreted. In my opinion, is because, I mean, when she first said that, this is the first time I heard that was from Christy, and then I started, doing some more study myself, and I'm like, oh, wow. I'd never
He
heard
was
that.
going to turn over all these gods.
Yes,
because I am the God.
Yes,
not
and that's
not
all.
any of these.
Why in
Yes.
the world did he? Why did Christ take his apostles up there to have that conversation with them if it were not
Right.
for a point? Because they were very visual, just like when he was talking about the gospel spreading like mustard seed. They were probably walking through a field of mustard.
Yep.
And anyway, go ahead. I'm
So
sorry.
yeah, so that was really a huge another selling point for me, because
I bet.
I had not been there. So
Oh yeah.
so that was a really special trip. On the way out, we didn't go to it. We kind of looked at it, Mount Horeb, where supposedly I can't now it's escaped me. I do believe that's where they think that's one of the places that they think that Jesus met with Moses and Elijah with the other three. So
The Transfiguration.
yeah,
Okay.
they've got different mountains that they think it was, but Mount Horeb is one of them. So
Okay.
so we just took a look at that, went home, and the next day we were up and into Nazareth, and the next book that I need to get is a Mizrah, which is, it accompanies the Torah in that it expands on the Jewish oral traditions. So
And what did you call it?
a Mishnah.
Oh, the Mishnah. I love the
Mishnah.
commentary.
Yeah, a
Okay, the
Mishnah.
way you pronounce it, I didn't think that's what you said.
Yeah, the Mishnah. We went to a well
Mm-hmm.
where it was believed that Mary was greeted by Gabriel, telling her the good news.
Okay.
So in my thinking, I've always thought, Mary was asleep, Mary was dreaming, Mary was, doing other things.
Right.
Well, the Jews believe that she was, or the Mishnah says that she was by a well, and she ran from the well home after she had the meeting with Gabriel. And I thought, how appropriate if she's at a well drawing water, that Gabriel would come to her and tell her she's about to deliver living water in our Savior.
What I'm intrigued about is that you said that's in the Mishnah, because my understanding of Mishnah was it was a commentary on Torah and not New Testament.
Well, it's I think it's like just Jewish tradition.
Okay.
And
I'm just stunned that that's in there.
I don't, now that you mention it, I don't know whether our tour guide was an interesting. We had
Okay.
we had three different tour guides for the trip. We had a lady the first day, we had another gentleman the second day, and then we had an Orthodox Jewish. I don't think he was a rabbi, but he was an Orthodox Jew that did our time around
Okay.
Jerusalem. The gentleman that was going around Nazareth with us described himself as an Arab, Christian, Catholic, Palestinian, Israeli. That's how complicated it
Wow.
gets when you're
I can't imagine.
He's born to Arab parents.
Okay.
He converted to Catholicism. He has Palestinian, I guess Palestinian citizenship because he's an Arab, but he has an Israeli passport. So he was
Wow.
He was an interesting guy.
I bet.
I wish I had more time to talk to him, but he was just there for that one day, and he said this is what the tradition is, that she was drawing water from a well, and we went and we saw the well, and then,
Okay.
then we went and saw where she would have run to where she lived, because of course there are churches on all of these
course,
sites.
yes.
The Catholic Church has just come over and just built churches everywhere.
Thank you, Constantine.
Yeah. Thanks to his mom.
Yeah.
So we went from there to the Church of the Annunciation, where she would have lived, and they have a little, they've got
This like a piece
the
of
little-
stone.
well, it was like I guess it was like a cave, because there are steps coming down to it, and then of course right down the street there's Joseph's house, and there's another church there that you can take a look at. So they've kind of got the proximity of where Mary and Joseph would have lived.
As my friend Muriel, they just got back from Israel as well, right about the same time you guys went. And she says, it is lovely. It is wonderful to go, but you will go through a you will go through a gift shop to get to everything you go see.
Yeah, or come through one when you're
on your way out.
Yep,
And
either
she
way.
says that was a bit surprising, just how many gift shops. She showed me a picture of bottled wine that was being touted as the wedding wine, and it is so
in
funny.
Canaan.
It's so funny.
In Canaan.
Anyway,
That's where we went next.
okay,
We
I'm
went
jumping
to,
the gun here.
Yeah, we went to Cana next. There's a church, of course. There's a church there. Now, there's some controversy now because people are saying that historians have found another spot that could have been where that church was, that he converted the water into wine.
Oh,
So there's, nobody's. It's not
Nobody really knows.
specific. It's not specific.
There's a lot. I mean, people have touted for years that this is where he was crucified.
Mm-hmm.
Well, again, all this studying that I've been doing with Christy McClellan, she said traditionally crucifixions did not happen up on a hill; they happened along the road going into a major city,
Right.
Because that was to dissuade others from doing the things that could get you,
Right.
put on a cross. And so traditionally, she said it's just not so,
Right.
and they don't believe that.
Yeah.
And so there's so many things. That's the thing that I encourage people. We do so much with our faith in regards to what we've traditionally been taught, and so, the fact that we've been told Christ was a carpenter,
Yep.
and we've got I can remember a movie. And they've got, it was, Christ being depicted as a young man before his ministry. And he's, sitting in a little outbuilding, building a chair,
Yeah.
That
was in the Passion.
Is it in
Yeah,
the Passion?
it
is it in the Passion?
Yeah.
And
He's making the dining room table.
yeah. And
with
it's
his
like,
mom.
yeah. Is
And
that
she's
okay?
like, I don't think this is going to catch on.
Yeah. Well, but the thing is, and he would have been working with stone.
Right.
He would have been able to work with wood, sure. And the city that was only 4 miles from Nazareth, because he grew up in a
It
very
begins with an S. I can't remember.
I can't remember the name of it
and
either.
it was a booming metropolis.
It was
yeah.
part of it was one of the big Vegas type cities.
Yep, that's where
And
they
so,
said that him and his
yeah,
dad would have gone
Him
to
and his
work.
dad would have walked probably because they grew up in a village, a few hundred people. There's
Right.
not enough work for those who tectone
Yeah.
in that in those little villages. So more than likely, while they were making a living, they would go 4 miles away to one of the cities of the Decapolis, and work there
and then come home.
and then come home, because there was an amphitheater. There was
Right.
all those things there.
And how, once again, when you get into the Bible and
Yeah,
when you
it's
start studying
fascinating.
it, how it's like that puzzle piece that clicks into place. Oh, he was a stonemason. Oh, he's the rock. Oh, he's the cornerstone. Oh, and it's like it all
All the
just falls
things.
into place. So, yeah.
Fascinating. We got to take another break. I've got a couple more breaks I got to do. I'm very excited to talk to you about my next sponsor, because it is official. They are going to be a 5-day-a-week sponsor, Cumberland Connect. We were hoping for that. We had Jerry with Veterans Motorplex. Their season's over, so they've stepped aside, and we had a few spots open, and I really wanted Cumberland Connect to come in and take them, because I'm so excited about them coming to my house. I had the Rainey's, Paul Rainey's, the one that gets on here every morning, and if I'm not, he's like, Laverne, where are you? He keeps me in line. They go to Mexico with me. They worked at the Benevolent Center with me, helped me with, they volunteer for Celebrate Recovery. They're just dear, dear friends, and so he was at the house last night. We were taking some Christmas minis for him, and that coil of wire hanging on the utility pole that I've talked about. So he goes, "That's your Cumberland Connect wire, isn't it?" I'm like, "Yes, it is. Yes, it is. They're that close." I was talking with Brian Pooley yesterday, and he's like, "Man, they're almost at my door," and because he sees the trucks in the neighborhood now. I saw a Cumberland Connect van at one of my neighbor's houses, and when I say neighbor, about a mile away from my house down Lawrence Lane. And so they're getting close. I talked to Caitlin. I said, "Okay, so when? Because it's the end of the year, first of the year is what we're looking at." So I can't wait. I've discovered a new show that I want to be able to stream and not have all the little pauses, because I don't watch a ton of TV.
Buffering.
Yeah, we found Poldark. If you haven't discovered Poldark, it's wonderful. But anyway, just those kinds of things that people take for granted. Again, I'm, working with pictures. I will have to, once I get all my editing done, I'm going to have to come to the radio station to load everything into Dropbox and send them out to my folks that I did photos for, because I can't do that from home. I cannot wait until I can do that from home, until I can maybe make a phone call from my barn. I can't. Connectivity in my barn, forget it. They're talking about being able to fix it to where I can maybe have a signal out in the area that has been just no way to get a signal. I can't wait. Do you have questions? Of course you do. You can go to www.cumberlandconnect.org, put in your zip code to find out when they're coming to you. If you are a Cumberland Electric customer, you will have access. Cumberland Electric customers, this is for you, Cumberland Connect. Now, if you're somebody that thinks, man, I got a lot of questions, go to the website, www.cumberlandconnect.org/workshops, and sign up for a workshop to find out more. Just go and talk to them. You're talking a state-of-the-art, gig-capable router, comes with the internet service at no extra charge, 24/7, 365 days a year. They're going to be there to support it. A gig, people, that is a gig, 1,000 megabits per second. That's a lot. And that's what you're going to get for $80. I was talking to Tiffany from United Way yesterday. She pays like $140. She gets great internet, but $140 from Xfinity, I think. This is such a deal. It is going to be awesome. You're going to want this. Go to cumberlandconnect.org and find out more. And when you do, tell them you turned Cincha, and thank you for picking up our extra sponsorships too.
I'm so excited. That's my first.
So
our line is dropped. I'll be sure to schedule the technician to come in and
So your line. So you've been told you can book your appointment.
Oh yeah. We're porting my number now, and today I get to call and cancel my AT&T service. I'll be so happy.
So when do you think you'll have
Probably
Cumberland?
next week.
Oh, I'm so jealous.
Yeah.
But honestly,
And
she
it's fiber.
should.
I mean, this is fiber optic.
She should have it before me, because I've had some connectivity. She's had nothing. I mean, when I was saying I've got like a 3, she was like, I've got a
1. We had 1.5 megabytes.
Yeah.
1.5.
I had 3.6
on a good day. On a good day.
Yeah, I mean under 10 always in my world, always.
Yeah.
And upload, and that's my download speed. Upload speeds are atrocious.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm telling you. So excited.
2023 is
We're so excited. We're so excited.
And this is first world problem.
Yes,
right?
I know. God, we love you, world. We're so spoiled in America. Oh my gosh, we're so spoiled. We're so spoiled, and we know it, and we are thankful to the Father for all that all He's blessed us with. And coming off of our season of Thanksgiving, I was very diligent and tried really hard to my prayers to be prayers of Thanksgiving through November. Thank you for that.
Yes.
Because it's changed my prayer life, and I've been more diligent about that. But now as we're sliding to work with the trilogy of Thanksgiving, thank you, Glenn Beck, for this, because I love how he unpacks this every year. But you are thankful for the season of Thanksgiving. That's that deep gratitude, and then you start heading into the Christmas season, and that promise of that new birth that you have, that new birth, and that
the hope
that you have through that new birth of Jesus Christ and the salvation we have through Him, and then propelling you into the new year, because every single day you have a chance of renewal, every day, and to really think about it. No, don't make New Year's resolutions, but to renew who you are through Jesus with Thanksgiving. Take on 2023. Hallelujah.
Yeah.
Okay, Gwen, we got about 10 more minutes.
And hallelujah, the next spot that we went to was the crossing of the Jordan.
Oh, wow.
Which was so incredible. This is the spot, and it was interesting because like just 2 or 3 nights ago, one of the TBN shows had an archaeologist, and they were standing at the same spot that we were in like 3 weeks ago. They believe that they can pinpoint it to this spot because of where Jericho is located, and the description of what the Bible gives us as to where Joshua would have crossed the Jordan into the new land, into the promised land. So we were there, and that is also believed to be where Christ would have been baptized.
Okay.
And I mean, it was just that.
Were there baptisms going on there?
There were baptisms
Right.
going on there. Yeah, you can get baptized there, and we didn't because just there was. I don't think there was
The
anybody that signed up.
logistics of
Yeah.
it too, you're going to have to get wet, you're going to
Right.
change, and
Yeah.
there's some logistics involved there
And
sometimes.
you have to arrange it. It's not
Yeah.
something that you can just go ahead and do, but you have to arrange it.
Oh,
But
okay.
I have water from there, so
there you go.
So I've got 2 little bottles of water that I smuggled in. But yeah, that was a really really cool stop. From there, let's see, where did we go? We hooked up. We went to Masada. That was my second trip to Masada, which is we stopped for lunch at a little cafeteria near the Qumran Caves, which is where the Dead Sea Scrolls were found, which they are still unpacking. Because,
And they found a scriptorium, inkwells, where they probably wrote
yes.
them. Yeah.
So we and then En-Gedi is there. En-Gedi is in that area. En-Gedi is where David hid in the caves with all of his men while he was on the run from Saul.
So cool. I mean,
know.
this is so cool.
I know, and it's like it's like, oh yeah, there's a spot. Oh yeah, there's a spot. Oh yeah, there's a spot. So we spent pretty much the day at Masada, the Dead Sea on the way back. Didn't play in the Dead Sea this time. It's just such a hassle.
Yeah.
You
Again,
you
the
gotta
logistics,
change,
changing
gotta
clothes, all
go
that.
play for 20 minutes, got to change, and you're all salty and
Ugh,
and
that
it's
doesn't sound good to me.
well, and Dead Sea mud with all the minerals. I mean, that's where it comes from. So it's not beaches like we
Yeah.
think. It's rocky and it's salty. You get these huge chunks of salt crystals that are underneath the sand that you can. I've got a little jar full of them. But it's the Dead Sea. I mean, so I didn't do that. But and then we made it into Jerusalem, and I mean that was just. We probably went to most of the places that I had been before. City of David, which is where they're finding. They found one of the little bells that the priests would wear on the bottom of their garments. They found the seal that is mentioned in the Bible for a piece of paper that would have been sent as like legal, a legal document. Well, they sealed it with clay, with little clay medallions, similar to the wax, the
Right.
wax things that you would seal an envelope with. And so this is the city of David, and my belief, because the Gihon Spring is underneath the city of David. In Judaism, you have mikvahs and you need running water for the temple. When you look at where the city of David is versus the Temple Mount, and the dimensions of the city of David and the dimensions of the temple, there are people out there that are starting to believe that that's where the temple was and not on the Temple Mount. Because when you look at the Temple Mount, there is no running water. You would have had to carry water up there. Well, biblically, that is not correct. You need running water to do any type of purification. And
How's the okay, well then, in adjacent to the Western Wall, then where is it? Is it? Could it be where you're talking about?
yeah,
So it's far enough from the Temple Mount to say
it's just like right there.
So
It's just right down
it
the
could
hill.
be this location that still be part of Solomon's temple.
Yes.
I mean, not Solomon's temple, Herod's temple.
Herod's temple. Well,
Herod's temple.
Herod's temple,
Or
which was built
Zerubbabel's.
on top of Solomon's temple.
Okay,
The temple
true.
has always been in the same place.
Right.
So
But the Western Wall was built by Herod, right?
that was
was it
like
Zerubbabel?
a fortification
Okay.
for the now whether it was a fortification for the temple from the top part of it down, to kind of hold the mountain back, because in biblically it says that Paul came down from the Roman fort
Okay.
to the temple.
Okay.
The southern steps come down
Okay.
to the
I would
city of
love to
David.
go and just study this, but I'd want to stay a month. I couldn't go for just a short
Yeah,
visit
10
because
days,
I just need to go hang out because I got digging to do. I mean,
Well, you can do that. That's what we should do. We should team up with some
there
archaeologists
you
and
go.
go over there and start.
That's
digging.
what I wanted to be. There was a time as a child I wanted to be an archaeologist.
Mm-hmm.
I did. I really wanted to be. I've got to take another break, and we're going to run out of time. I should have just shut up and said, Gwen, But I had questions. I had questions. But anyway, we're going to talk real quickly about my sponsor, another one of my longtime sponsors, Love, the Richards, Barry and Rebecca Richards with the Exit Realty Garden Gate team, my friends in real estate. If you're looking for if you have any kind of a question in regards to a real estate need, if you're buying or selling, if you're coming to the table and you're like, ooh, I could buy this much house last year, I can only buy this much house this year, help me understand it because interest rates are up. What does that mean? They can help explain all of that to you and get you on track to be a homeowner. I saw my daughter-in-law's sister is about to become a homeowner, and I didn't even know she was looking for a house. But anyway, I digress. How many of us out there are doing something in real estate? You're buying or you're selling, and you need somebody to help you when it comes to sitting at the table. Rebecca, one of the first in the area to be a seniors real estate specialist, which illustrates she's always studying. Barry was a vice president of a marketing company for 17 years, a media marketing company in Nashville. So that means he knows how to present your property so people will see it and they won't just swipe right past it when they're looking at the listings. And they specialize in Robertson County properties, but they also buy and sell in the surrounding counties and across the state line in Kentucky. If you want to connect with them, go to sellwithbecky.com, sellwithbecky.com, or buy, B-U-Y, robertsoncounty.com, or just give them a phone call, 615-504-7425, 615-504-7425. As always, tell them you turned Cynthia. Here we go, Gwen, go.
So yeah, we do the City of David, and this is the City of David, the museum, and Hebron. I mean, you pack all of that into one day when you do these 10-day trips. So that's why you're overwhelmed. You're just exhausted, and you really don't digest the trip until you start going home and looking through your pictures and going, oh, that was that day. Oh, yeah, because it all starts to just run together after a while.
Right.
But the City of David, and then we went underneath it to see the spring, the Gihon Spring, where they believe that the kings were anointed.
Is that the area where they've excavated some old steps? Mm-hmm. And that's where they're talking about. I saw a documentary on. They believe that this is where the temple was.
Right.
What you're talking about.
Right. Yeah.
There's a fascinating. There's all kinds of stuff you can see. And I mean, what they've excavated, it's like, oh my gosh, this is a trail.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just a road, a little walkway down through there, and it's just.
And as you leave the City of
incredible.
David, you go to the Pool of Siloam. Mm-hmm. With the original steps that were there when Christ would have been there.
And you're
that's what
Jesus
we sat on.
Walked here.
Yeah.
He was here.
And the interesting thing about
cool.
the interesting thing about the Pool of Siloam is when you're in Jerusalem, any type of excavating or building, chances are you're going to run into something. Mm-hmm. And the way they discovered the Pool of Siloam, which is a water pool for mikvahs, was a water main broke. So I thought, how weird is that a water main broke? They had to go repair the water main because for a long time they thought that the Pool of Siloam didn't even exist.
How wild.
Because they couldn't find it or figure out where it was. Well, a water main broke, years ago, and they went to fix the water main and oh, what is this? And they discovered that was where the pool was. So
do you know how long ago that was?
I don't. I could probably. I could probably.
Oh, there's just so many. We got 3 minutes.
I know.
Okay.
I know.
How do you want to finish this up, Gwen?
Go to Israel.
Okay.
Go to the land.
Go to the land.
Go to the land. One of the people from church, when I was still debating on whether to do this or not, he said, "Well, you know what the Bible says: go to the land as often as you possibly can." So it's like, oh, okay, I've got an opportunity, so I might as well. Mm-hmm. And so, I mean, it was just an incredible trip. I mean.
I have a friend here from Egypt that lives in downtown Nashville, and her certification is in archaeology.
Wow.
And we've never really talked about what that means. She's brilliant. And we just talk about, she's got 3 kids.
Yeah.
So, but her certification is in archaeology.
Yeah.
I need to just sit down and talk to her just about that.
Yeah.
And because she grew up in Egypt, so odds are she's been to the land.
Yes. Yes.
But
and a lot of people in the trip said that that's the next thing that they'd like to go to Egypt, because Egypt holds such a significance.
Yes.
Why was Jesus as a child sheltered in Egypt?
Because Cleopatra and Herod knew each other, and Cleopatra wanted Herod's throne,
right?
And so he was scared to death. So if you want to protect somebody from Herod, you send them to Egypt. Even though she was already dead, her daughter was was ruling. I
Yeah.
mean, her daughter wasn't, but she was married to the dude that was.
Right,
So
yeah.
that's another story for another time. That's a rough, you know, like
Yeah.
paraphrase.
But
of it.
it's just a significant place because you know that's where they came out of, and that's where Joseph and the whole thing, and with Christ, he was tucked away there for a certain amount of time. So
Yeah.
a lot of people think that Egypt is kind of significant too,
Oh yeah,
but Jerusalem's my town. I mean,
I love it.
Jerusalem's my city.
I love it. I love it. I love it.
yeah.
I love it. I've got a friend there that I met at the Blaze, and she's always said, anytime you come, just so you can stay with me. I'm going to be going,
Yes.
hey, Gone, remember me? Knocking on her door. Knocking on her door. They had that Rose of Bethlehem necklace that we used to sell that had, you know, it bloom,
Yep.
and
Yep.
she was the owner of that.
Yeah.
And she did. She told me I could come stay at her house.
Well,
I wonder
hey.
if that offer still is, you know.
Check
open.
on it. Check and see. Just get.
I'll clip this and send it to her and say, hi, Gonna. I haven't talked to you in a while. Remember me?
Just the plain fare
So,
over. And
yeah,
you're all set.
exactly.
You're good.
Anyway,
So,
God bless you all. Thank you guys for joining us. Thank you for being here, Miss Gwen. She's got to get to work, and we've got Lee Marie coming in here with a special visit from the Wild Doc, my chiropractor. Went and saw him the other night. Oh my goodness, he's a good dude. He's gonna really help you out. Stay tuned right here for a special episode of the Go Show with Lee Marie and Wild Doc, Dr. Brown. God bless. Have a wonderful day. This is 1100 WA.